He is a college basketball expert, but knows so much more. He's the Duggar, Fox Sports Radio After My Show. You know we got him today. Let's bring in Doug Gottlieb. Awesome. Oh, I was sitting there watching that game with 7 guys yesterday, and they're all complaining, and I'm like, hey, UCF, hit the alley-oop dunk, you win the basketball game. What did you make of the no call on the rebounding thing?
Well, there's a series of no calls.
Yeah.
Right? First, Zion Williamson drives to his right and spins back to his left.
Yeah.
Now, I hate it in college basketball, but 9 times in 10, that's called a charge.
Yeah.
Then he drives in and Taco Fall, all of 7'12",
yeah,
is at the rim, not trying to take a charge, hands straight up. That's called verticality.
Yeah.
Okay? 7 to 8 times in 10 in all of basketball now, that's not called a foul. It was called a foul for Duke. Then Zion Williamson, and this shouldn't be dismissed, and I love the kid, chokes the free throw, right?
Yeah.
If you front rim a free throw that you make it, you tie the game.
Yeah.
That's choking a free throw. So even if we say, hey, R.J. Barrett pushed off, which is pretty clear, but there was no box out, it should have been a foul. Okay, I could accept on the other. If you look at the other side, the other block, okay, it's what's called a hook and hold. Watch as UCF's player tries to box out, and there's a hook and hold of his arm. That's a point of emphasis in college basketball because last year.
So you don't like the officiating?
I just thought that the way in which college basketball has been officiated all season long is one way, and in 30 seconds right there, it was completely different.
So let me ask you this. College basketball is
all basketball is like this.
Yeah.
I heard your opening rant, and
yeah.
you are right.
But
End of the game, it's World War III.
It is.
Show me what you got, lower intestinal fortitude. Go and get a rebound. No excuses.
By the way,
on the other hand, a shove in the back is usually called.
Yeah, I mean, I just think
it was a foul.
Officials generally just want to get the heck out. I remember LeBron, KD in the baseline about 2 years ago in the final 2 or 3. LeBron hooked him, and everybody's crying, and I'm like, superstars, basket, minute left. They just.
But there's a difference between a hook on an offensive move. Right?
Yeah, but
and
you see
push in the back when a guy jumps and you push him in the back and get the rebound, lay it in. Like that's a foul. It's a foul.
Well, so's the Hail Mary.
RJ Bell.
But a Hail Mary. You're pushing guys. Nobody calls anything. Those are all fouls.
Yes. Again, different. Like this is 1 against 1. I have inside position. I leave the ground. You push me in the back. Yes. Do I think there's a similarity? Yes. But in basketball, it's almost always called. It just is. The only part I would defend is if you're Central Florida, you're not supposed to jump there. What you're supposed to do is the second the shot goes up, root a guy out and box him out. He didn't do that.
Yeah. By the way, Zion, I've said this before. One name, Oprah, Madonna, LeBron, Kobe, Magic, Bird. There's a reason the Greek Freak, although wildly talented, we didn't know who he was out of college. Last name's hard to describe or say for most people. Zion looks, sounds, feels like a superstar in this league. His game is joy. It's Duke, Zion,
yes.
Z, one name. I'm watching this kid. There's no subtlety. He jumps off a television set. I think he's going to fly past all but about 3 NBA stars when he walks in terms of value, excitement, ticket sales. He'll never be LeBron, at least not. He probably won't be Durant or Steph. When you watch him, when's the last time a college basketball player was this big?
Well, I mean, Ben Simmons didn't play in the NCAA tournament.
But he wasn't. I wasn't rushing to my TV to watch Ben Simmons.
Well, it's the combination of the fact that there was a buildup with the YouTube dunks.
Yes.
He plays for Duke.
Yes.
Look, playing for Duke has a ton of value.
Yes.
Like so many people in our positions are in such denial of what the tournament does for the value of the brands of the players.
Yes.
Ja Morant, everybody in basketball knew who Ja Morant was. He won 1 game and suddenly became kind of a household name.
Yeah.
Why? Because his team played in the tournament and beat Marquette, right?
Yeah, right.
So I think Zion, the combination of the YouTube buildup, the dunks, the fact that he's a little bit different than other guys. He does appear kind of bigger than life. And then he plays for Duke. And he makes Duke likable, and he plays with a smile on his face. So I love him. Look, when I sat in your seat, and I told you this before off air, I think as long as people have reasonable, they're not going to, but reasonable expectations of what he will be.
Yeah.
Okay, he is. If you combined Blake Griffin and Rodney Rogers and Draymond Green and maybe a little bit of LeBron, right? That's what you mush them together.
What about Barkley?
A little bit of Barkley. people forget that when Barkley came out early in his career, he was a freak athlete.
Oh, good Lord.
And if Barkley played in the NBA today, he's really self-deprecating. He's like, I couldn't play. That's not true.
Oh,
if he could play in the NBA today, he would be Draymond Green, only an offensive weapon. Yeah. Draymond's his only offensive weaponry is passing the basketball.
Barkley would be great any era.
I understand, but back then, Barkley was an undersized power forward.
Right.
Now, Barkley would be a small ball center in small ball lineups, which is what Zion Williamson will be, and he'll be a very good one. He's making threes more now. He's comfortable as a passer. He's a high basketball IQ. He plays hard. The question is going to be his body. What's his weight going to be? How long can he play at that weight?
Brad Stevens is a great coach in college and pro. He's got an offensive system. And sometimes, and I'm not blaming anybody here, then you get Kyrie. And I was saying this morning, in the history of the NBA, if you had a one-on-one tournament for guys under 6'3", Kyrie would potentially win it. Left hand, right, he's a great closer. Shoot, basket. I mean, he's really an amazing talent. Could I make the argument that it's not Kyrie's fault? It's not Brad Stevens' fault. That they just don't. By the way, Mike D'Antoni doesn't work well with a lot of bigs. Greg Popovich would not be good with Kobe as much as they said they would have loved to have played together. Kyrie and Brad Stevens, it's not a good fit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just Kyrie and Brad Stevens, but there is something amiss with this team. You know, they were 2 of 18 from 3 in the first half. The other day, 2 of 18 from stop shooting threes.
Right.
You know, at some point, and who's taking those threes? But there's something to a fight over. Joy and I have talked about this. Is it the conch or the conch from Lord of the Flies?
I don't know.
Okay, so whoever had the conch or conch, which was it?
Conch.
Conch, okay.
Whoever had the conch had the power.
Gronk and Conch today on the show.
And it's like they're all wrestling for it. Kyrie's like, look, I got it. Well, all right, fine, dude. What are you going to do now when you leave?
Right.
I do think there's some sort of disconnect between that staff, which is made up of, business types, right? Like Brad there's no facial expression. There's no ups, there's no down. He's just solid as the day is long, almost, kind of like a banker. Remember, that's his background after he got out of playing in college before he went back in. And the rest of his staff are all really smart, really good guys. And then you have, then there's kind of a different group there that they brought in from what they used to have, like the Morris twin is a leader and a vet and a tough guy, but sometimes a tough guy to work with others. And then you have, Kyrie.
He's a big personality.
He's still trying to kind of find himself, let alone find his leadership voice. Then you have Marcus Smart, who can't shoot, doesn't seem to know he can't shoot, but is invaluable with all the other little things he does.
Right.
Then you got Terry Rozier. It's like, wait, I was good at times last year in the playoffs, and I'm playing. There's something amiss there with the Celtics, where if you think chemistry doesn't matter, I give you the Boston Celtics, who on paper should be one of the elite teams in the NBA, and yet are all over the map. The only problem with calling the Celtics dead is look at the West, and you got the Oklahoma City Thunder, who a couple months ago were like a rocket ship,
and now
they're a disaster in their own right. Sometimes guys are around each other too much. That's also a problem.
By the way, in both situations, you have a star point guard, Westbrook and Kyrie, who are all-time talents. And basketball is a unique game. Kobe at the end was no day at the beach to play with because the game changed.
But he also wasn't a point guard, and it's different. And what happens with people is they look at assist numbers. And they do this for Russell, and they do this for Kyrie. And well, look at all the assists he had. You can be, and I know this because that's what I did. You can be selfish and get assists.
Yeah, Steph Marbury.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a way to do it. In basketball, if you throw it to a guy and he jumps up and makes a shot, that's an assist for you. You can also hold the ball so that it's not the hockey assist is what you want. You want to get it moving and have an extra pass, but that's not what these guys do. They want to make every single play. They want to either make the shot, get fouled, or create the shot for others. But going back to the Celtics, they are a mess. And I think we all assumed by now they would have it together, but I think it feels worse, not better.
So, it's interesting about Kobe, Bryant, and LeBron. They were always different players. I always felt Kobe was sort of the closest thing I've seen in my life to Michael Jordan. That's not a revelation. We all know that. And I always thought when LeBron came into the league, he had a little bit more magic than Michael. He's not the killer. He had a little Pippen. He was a slasher, blah, blah, blah. And so Kobe and LeBron, They have different games. They also have different personalities. One is a scorer to the end, and one really is actually, I think, LeBron's greatest asset is his unselfishness. In high school, junior to senior year, he averaged 1 more point. He could have averaged 20 more points. So I don't think Kobe's rooting for LeBron. I think he'll say publicly all the right things. But I thought last week Kobe came out and took a shot at LeBron, which is, I would have to be dead not to play in games. What do you make of the relationship?
Well, I think you nailed it in that Kobe might be saying one thing, but privately enjoying the fact that LeBron is struggling in L.A. and that suddenly now it's become Kobe's town yet again, right? Like it's the many lives of Kobe Bryant are fascinating to watch,
right?
Because it was Kobe versus Shaq, and then he had the off the court issues. He changed his numbers, and then remember he wanted to be traded.
Kobe versus Phil,
and Kobe versus Phil, and then the end of Kobe, as you point out, like. People didn't want to come play with him. He had the ridiculous contract. He had the Achilles tendon. But somehow, then he ends up with 60 points in his last game. You're like, well, yeah, but it was meaningless. Like, it was still 60 points, right? I mean, he's put together. He had the lowest, I think, effective field goal percentage in the entire NBA. And yet he found a way to have 60 on his last night in an NBA uniform. I do think they're wired differently. I do think there's a massive disconnect there. I don't think that they're boys. And I think he's privately enjoying it. The problem with it, though, is that Kobe, and at least part of his legacy, is tied to Rob Pelinka. Like, they are the closest of friends. They're the closest of allies.
That was his agent.
That was his agent.
And now he's in the front office.
He's now the GM of the Lakers. And so while I don't think he minds LeBron failing in his first year, I don't think he wants his dear friend to fail. And I do think he's a Laker, and he knows that the Lakers winning is good for business.
It's good for Kobe's brand long term.
It is Kobe. Like, look, he did that sit-down interview with Mike Greenberg, and he was like, I'm over it. I moved on. I don't care about the GOAT conversation. Dude, that is a stone-faced lie. Of course Kobe cares.
Right.
Like, all of a sudden he's going to go like, nah, I don't care about it. Of course he does. Like, that's why he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was in the conversation with Mike. He wants to remain in that conversation with Mike, and his legacy does remain very, very important to him.
And by the way, for people that don't live in Los Angeles, this is a magic Kobe town. Wilt's too long gone. Jerry West is 80. Shaq is elsewhere. Kareem was too aloof. Worthy was good, not all-time great. It's a magic Kobe town. They have immense juice in this town. Now, Magic's more communicative and out in front, and Kobe's kind of Orange County, but Kobe's still got juice in this city, and when Kobe talks, people listen. And for the record, he's had a very good second career out of basketball.
Amazing. He's having an amazing career now.
Smart.
And he started his basketball academy, which is in Thousand Oaks, which is the other side of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So he still, his daughter's team is like super dominant in youth basketball. So like he's actually doing a lot of very, very interesting things in Kobe 2.0. And then, of course, the movies and the books and all that other stuff that's out.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.